Excuse me, Mary.
It was here.
Okay, it's fine. I'll cover it.
You good? All right, please rise. Pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Mike, I'm going to give you the floor to introduce your legislation.
Just a quick background. Excuse me. At a monthly meeting a month ago, we submitted the short-term rental proposal for the new law in the town of Washington. And at that time, we scheduled a public hearing and comments for that proposed law. We received comments from multiple sources, planning board, CAC, the public, and we accepted those comments. We took it to our committee. We reworked all of the comments, looked at those that were substantive, that would require us to change some of the language within the first proposal of the short-term rental. Once you do that, you have to rewrite the law and resubmit it. So we've taken care of that, and tonight we're resubmitting the revision of the short-term rental proposed law for the town of Washington today. So Jeff, as attorney, has processed the paperwork. We now have to forward it back on to Dutchess County for them to take another look at it, to view the changes that we placed into the document, and we will schedule the public hearing on the resubmitted short-term rental for our September meeting. So that's on the short-term rental. So that's where we are right now on that. So we need
You need someone to make a motion to adopt this resolution. Someone needs to second it.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And once we have done that, which we just did, so after this evening, it will be posted up on our website for people to view. And then in the September meeting, we'll open it up to public comment on this newly submitted short-term rental law for the town of Washington.
Mike, is there a version that tells you what's changed since the last version?
That would be hard to do. We
Okay.
received comments.
Can you summarize the changes since the last?
County.
It's various.
One of the larger changes was there was a paragraph towards the end of the document, which if read from maybe not a legal background, it looks like it was permitting an override of other laws within the town that govern property. And that was not the intent of that paragraph. So our attorney has rewritten that into more of a flow and a better understanding of what we were trying to say in that paragraph. Basically, to summarize, it was saying that nothing outside of this that we had in the short-term rental supersedes other laws in the town, as far as water, property lines, all of that type of thing. It just made it more clear. There were a couple of comments on what a unit meant. There weren't a lot of substantive, but even just changing that one paragraph requires you to resubmit it. So that's what we've done. But there wasn't major changes from the original as far as registering the requirements on what an owner has to do to be in the business of a short-term rental. There was no changes on ownership, occupancy, parking. We did make sure that parking was more defined in that it had to be a structured cutout piece on the property that would be specific to where the cars are parked, nothing on the streets, and it has to be shown in the layout plan that will be submitted to the building inspector's office when an application, a permit is sent in and then approved. But nothing dramatic was changed other than sentences that needed to be rewritten. And once that happens, you have to resubmit it. So the county will get it again, get a chance to look at it. But the other organizations that have already made their comments, we don't have to submit that to them, but that does not prevent them from making comments in the next public hearing.
So the public hearing, just so we're straight,
September,
September
Board meeting.
14th, 6 o'clock,
our board meeting.
correct?
Correct.
All right.
Hi, this is Mary. How is everybody?
Hi, Mary.
I'm just trying to figure out, I couldn't tell by the voices, who made the motion and who made the second?
I made the motion, like Councilman Murphy and Councilman Audia made the second.
Thank you very much.
Took notes right up until now, Mary.
Okay. All right, I'm good on that. Thank you.
All right, good.
Okay, so the next on the agenda is the overlay district legislation. I'm going to give you the floor on that.
Sure, sure. So the last meeting, we elected to pass along the proposed overlay district law. Is that right?
Yeah.
To the planning board and the CAC. So we received comments from both committees. And now tonight, we are going to hopefully vote to send it to Dutchess County Planning and Development with the first part 1 of the SECRA, okay, which is the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which we have to fill out that part 1 and then send it to the county for review. So, is there anything I missed? on that, or-
So we submitted the comments from planning and the Conservation Advisory Commission to NAN,
Yes,
our consultant who took them under advisement. And Nan, there were certain comments that you found very helpful. And I want to speak for you. I know you're on Zoom. And you made those changes. There were others that you had different feedback about, and you drafted a memo to the town board, which is posted on the website for anyone that's interested, responding to some of the concerns in the CAC's letter, and explaining sort of broadly what was adopted and what wasn't.
right,
So there was there was an effort to try to provide some clarity on some issues and some concerns. One of which I think was also similar to short-term rental is that by having these overlay districts and having sort of clarity about certain elements of hospitality within those districts, it applies just to those particular locations, and it doesn't supersede all of the other laws of the town, including wetlands laws and all the other laws. So that was an important clarification that
yeah,
Nan made in her memo.
so, right,
Sorry.
so just to clarify,
Yeah.
and I think Leslie said that the comments that we received, we've now answered those comments, and they are posted on our website. So for everybody to see that.
Yeah. And also tonight is not a public hearing, but is just the next step of sending this proposed legislation to the county for the county's feedback.
Exactly.
And
they
I don't
have-
believe we can schedule a public hearing until we receive that, which is about 30 days.
No, I
So
think we can
the
schedule
earliest-
it. Yes,
Oh, we
yes, we
can schedule
definitely can
it? Okay.
schedule it. Oh, sure. And
Okay.
I think it's going to be scheduled for
October?
September 14th.
Well, I
Right,
think they
the
need
next
30
meeting,
days
right?
to respond. Is that right?
But I think you can hold your public
We
hearing
can-
anyway.
Anyway,
We can
oh,
also-
okay.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
So,
I have one question. In the agenda, there is an acronym, FEAF. What does that mean?
So as part of an environmental review, there's something called an environmental assessment form, an EAF. There's a short version and then there's a full version. So for this type of action, you use something called the full environmental assessment form. So one was prepared, you're approving it tonight, so that it will be circulated to the county. Technically, your supervisor will sign it after this motion gets adopted tonight.
Yeah, I just brought that up so that the public knows what that document is.
Right. So once again, there's a resolution of introduction. You're introducing this local law tonight. Part of that is having an FEAF, a full environmental assessment form. then this local law and that form will get circulated to the county planning for comment. And
Okay,
I'm scheduling a public hearing for September 14th
September.
at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, right?
You're busy night.
So the people who are here interested in the hospitality overlay, that'll be the time. You'll have plenty of time to see you won't see the comments from the county at that point, but you'll see everything else on the website. That'll be the time for comments.
So nothing's gonna happen with this tonight?
No, the only thing we're doing tonight is Jeff will,
Right, it's just being introduced as a
Right.
local law tonight for consideration. There would be a public hearing on it.
It's just consideration though.
I'm sorry?
It's just consideration.
correct.
The law's not being adopted, it's being proposed.
I see.
Yeah, the public hearing will be at our next meeting, Kevin, and at that point,
Yes.
it'll be open for, for conversation, any feedback.
Okay.
Okay? So-
And Kevin, just like what happened with the first offering of the short-term rental or any law,
Right.
once the public comments are taken in, then they're brought back, and there's a term called substantive. And if the committee that is generating the document as a proposed law feel that the feedback is so sensitive or critical or informational that it has to be reworked into the document,
Yeah.
then another, just like you're saying tonight, another protocol will have to happen. It'll have to be resubmitted, go back to the county, come back again for another public hearing. So this is the beginning of probably a several-month process.
So I think pretty much most of us are here because we're concerned about, we live right next door to this.
Correct. And at the public hearing, you'll be able to really get into the details of all of your concerns. They get recorded
Mhm.
into the minutes.
Correct.
The committee or the group that is generating the rule, including the professional consultant that is working with that committee, will take those into consideration. If they're substantive and really impactful on what's being proposed, the document gets rewritten, goes through the process again. So sometimes it takes several months. Sometimes we've held public hearings on certain proposed laws. Nobody comments on it. And that same night that you can close the public hearing, we actually vote to adopt the law.
I see.
I think the next step would be to make a motion to pass it on to the county.
Sure.
Motion to adopt the
Yeah.
resolution.
Yeah. I'll make that motion.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Ira Haskell, 81 College Lane. So a lot of us are sitting here and we really aren't able to make our feelings known about putting this hospitality area in the middle of the residential community. So we have to wait until September 14th now to actually do that.
Yes,
Because technically, the county has to look at, is the document created appropriately? They may come back with comments and say, you need to rewrite certain sections of this, and then take into consideration the public comment too. But they kind of have the oversight authority on anything that a town is going to propose as a local law. Divorced from even considering public comment. They have comments on it. It could be a technical aspect, it could be a legal aspect, but we have to wait for them to say, move forward, or as Jeff has said, we can take in the public comments then, see what the county says, and then put all the comments back together again. But September 14th will give everyone an opportunity, just like we did with the short-term rental, to speak towards what's being proposed. This is not the final document, although it could be the final document. We won't know until we get comment.
so Bob made the motion.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who made the second?
I did,
Joe.
Joe?
yes.
Okay, thank you. And can I add one comment? We do allow people to send emails to the town to make comments if they're unable to attend the meeting for any reason on September 14th.
It could be written, you can submit written documents too.
So a document that I already sent will be in the,
Yes, that should be posted as part of the record.
Absolutely.
okay.
That should already be on the website.
Why are we redoing the zone? Why do we want to redo the zoning from this?
So
That's,
What's the objective?
Yeah, what?
I thought we weren't gonna get
what-
into this.
what- It's been, you know,
So Kevin, I think we're gonna wait until the public hearing to ask those questions, and then we can answer them.
okay, we don't want trucks, people coming up and down our road.
Yeah.
Just like
So
nobody in
bear-
Mexico wanted it.
Bear in mind that while this is going to be an overlay, hopefully,
Yeah.
district,
Right.
it does not mean that we are now proposing what goes on to the site. That will be, if anybody chooses to buy that parcel, go to the planning board, and then go through that direction. And then that's when you would have the
Right.
opportunity to be more specific on what's
Because
exactly going on that.
no matter
Because
which
we
one of
have
us is
no,
asked,
we're not going to tell you because we don't know.
no matter which one of us asked, we get like exasperated because nobody gives us a direct answer. They just say, no, people go, it's a done deal. And we're like, what's a done deal? They didn't want it in Mavisville, and now they want to put it in our place.
Right.
And it's,
No, I think, Kevin, it'd be helpful if you read on the website is the report that was done with the entire town's input, which is the comprehensive plan review report on hospitality.
Mhm.
That included both a survey of residents, but more importantly, lots of, in-person workshops and a committee of people with all different perspectives on hospitality. Margaret Scheibel was one of the people that was on it. Nan was the consultant. Joe was the town board member liaison. And so part of it was asking people where they want it and at what scale and size and what restriction.
I guess my concern is, nobody wanted it in Mavisville, but yet they want to put it next to our house.
Right, well,
Yes,
I would read the report. I think
But-
that would be really helpful
yeah,
to give
That
some
bothers me-
background.
that bothers me,
okay.
seriously.
Seems odd that millionaires and billionaires on Tower Hill and in Mavisville don't want in on 300 acres, but everybody else, let's force a hotel on 15 acres in South Millbrook where there's not millionaires and billionaires forming nonprofits, hiring expensive lawyers, threatening lawsuits. It seems odd. That's just strange to me.
But it's been
But there was,
that way
it was that
for-
way forever. before.
forever. I mean, that's why it's being proposed for that property, because it's been that way for how long? I mean, I can tell you who's been married there.
But there's
And
nothing
they
stopping
used it.
people from buying the
Right.
property for
And then,
individual reasons.
were you living there when Daytop was?
Yes,
was
it
that?
was.
How was that? Just out of curiosity. Like, how
They
was
walked up down the road, it was no problem.
There was no
But
problem.
we're talking about trucks coming up and down the road,
Delivery.
But nobody's bought the
Yeah.
property.
Somebody
We
clearly
received a
wants
letter.
to.
We
We've
all-
all got
we
that
received a
letter.
letter.
Oh, I've seen the letters too, yeah.
We received letters and talked to the person who walks in the building with them.
He's putting a lot of money into it.
Definitely a plan. But this is for, I think, like you said, this is not for.
Right.
This is a open forum.
And I'm sure the developer will listen to all this, and who's to say that it has to come like it's one in the past, maybe they'll just come from 82 now. I mean, you just don't know.
From
And we can't answer that. The main entrance was always from 4482.
Yeah. Well, you can't get up that, it's a narrow trail.
Well, how do you?
Well,
know-
that'll
how do you
have
know
to
what-
pass zoning
How do
and
you know what
planning,
his plans are?
whatever his plans
We
are.
can't tell you.
I think
You know what I mean?
When you're opening the door to people submitting plans, they'll get approved.
Yes.
And then in a year or two, they'll ask for changes to the plan, and you'll have to approve.
I think what we're
That's what we're doing.
running into the typical
What if?
cart before the
Yeah.
horse kind of predicament.
Yeah.
All this is doing is saying that we're looking at the town of Washington, and there have been suggestions on where hospitality should be, the big term hospitality. We're not saying hotel, we're not saying inn. This law is saying hospitality district. So it could be Washington Hollow, it could be off of 44 where the old daytime. It could be where the monument is on 343. Mavisville is already a district that is a mixed-use district.
Yeah.
Right.
So what you're doing is, through this particular submission and map, you're telling the county and the town residents, this particular bordered area of the town is where hospitality could be allowed. We're not saying this is where a hotel has to go, or this is where an inn has to go. It's just that area. When it gets down to specific application by an owner, or somebody buys it for that intention, this law allows them to look in that district and perhaps buy the property, but then they've got to go through that whole month
Yeah.
and month-long process of going before planning
Board.
with plans, who then says, does this conflict with our zoning? Then perhaps pass it off to zoning, then back to planning. That process, just like if you were to build a house anywhere in the town, that same process. All this is doing is setting on the map where the town will consider allowing hospitality and actually border it out so a prospective person interested in hospitality, like an inn or a hotel, knows where they can put it. We're not saying that this is specific to the one that perhaps may go on the top of College Hill or off of 44. And I live on the Horseshoe, so I'm aware of where this property is. All this is doing is putting out the major border around it, but county has to look at it first. Then they pass it back to us. In the public hearing, that's where we begin to hear, well, why hospitality here? Why hospitality there? What are you allowing here? What are the types of buildings that are going to be allowed here? Then if that gets all approved and we vote to adopt the law, then somebody coming in like this gentleman that put the letters in our mailboxes knows he can go ahead and buy that property and perhaps do what he wants to do, but he still has to go before planning. And planning may say,
Too much
you
traffic
can't do it.
or whatever. That's where the planning board then decides traffic, septic, water, all that, for
all
all of
of
these.
that.
Right now, the village allows inns up to 20 rooms. Mabbittsville allows motels and inns. So it's the same as it's that. It's just allowing it in those particular areas based upon feedback from the report.
And we needed to define the border down in Washington Hollow too. There's already an existing motel there. Who knows what the owner might want to do there, but now we're saying, yes, that's where that type of
How about the
hospitality
land
would be
where-
allowed.
where Bennett College was,
Say that again?
the land where Bennett College was. Why can that,
That's village.
That's village.
so where Crawford Farms was, which is where most people don't know what Crawford Farms was, but that entire hill was Crawford Farms. So why can that not be developed instead of Crawford Farms?
Why can he, what?
Because I don't know specifically.
Where Thorndale bought, where
Yeah.
Bennett College was. Why can that not be developed?
That's
That's not
the
town
village.
property,
That's
that's
not
village.
that's
But
that
across the
town.
street there, where it is right across from
I
it,
lived
is
there
part of
since
this
1950. Where I live, that was Crawford Farms. Now they want to redevelop it and change it. The zone.
I don't, that's
No,
not.
they're not changing
No,
that.
that's- you're wrong on that, Kevin. We're not touching that property. It's strictly the area that Daytop occupied. Yeah.
And that's what's strange about it, because it's in the middle of a residential district.
We're all aware of that. Were you guys around when, I know Kevin was,
That used to be
when,
in-
When that used to be an inn.
when Daytop
Yes,
wanted to buy Millbrook Manor?
yes.
How many years did we have that in front of the planning and zoning board?
Probably 20 years at least.
Well, no,
Oh,
I mean,
Daytop?
before, when Daytop wanted to buy
There's
the
no
Millbrook
demand.
Manor. The meetings were so big, we had to have them at Bennett College.
Yes, yes.
So we had hundreds of meetings.
Well, I think the concern too is the Ramble Lane is very unsafe, you know, it's a narrow.
But you see, they'll deal with all of that.
But
when
they-
it-
That's where the
Planning
public
board would
hearing
say
and the
That's
written
what I'm
documents.
saying, our concern is it's not gonna be desirable to use that as an entrance.
Well, they'll have to make
So
it.
they'll be using College Lane, that's our concern.
I don't
I don't
think
think
I
that's
don't think
dangerous.
so.
I just don't
Yeah,
believe it.
I wouldn't believe
So
that.
that's the county will.
No,
County's
that'll
looking
be
at
us.
our
No, that would be us.
Then they'll come back with their comments. And then the public will make the same comment on the same, comments on the same document, then the group needs to make a decision on all those comments. If it has to be rewritten, it goes through the process again. If the comments are not substantive, hypothetically, then the document could get voted on, which means the town of Washington is saying, this is a zone, this is a zone, this is a zone. They're not saying, this is the French man's hotel, this is somebody else's hotel, this is somebody else's hotel. That all goes through planning.
So who is the person that is proposing to buy this place? Is he here tonight?
He's not even sure he can buy it because it's not designated as a hospitality zone yet.
Well, he's certainly spending a lot of money and having architects up there.
As a businessman, I would think he would start to make those kinds of preparations, but
Well, we should be privileged to meet the person.
he invited you to stop by and talk to
And
him.
he was
I
never
did,
there.
we did,
Twice.
he was never there.
Okay. Did he give you any email, phone, or anything?
Yes, he gave
Okay,
reports,
so that's all.
correspondence, saying he'd be there at certain times, and we went there, he was never there.
Twice, 2 Fridays. in a row.
Yes,
Or not.
Correct.
But he was never there.
we went up there every time and he wasn't there.
Well, there'll be, believe me, residents, we're not trying to ram anything down anybody's throat. So just stay tuned. Stay tuned. Come to the meetings, read the stuff on the
Well,
website.
We do, we
Right,
come here.
yeah. Yeah, and we listen to everyone, and you know that.
No, I understand.
It's not a done deal.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I think in all fairness to, especially the people on College Lane, that because of the distance from 82 up, that would be the main thoroughfare, widened, improved, et cetera. You have families in College Lane, and maybe I'm not even supposed to say this now, but there's small children, there's school buses. That thoroughfare doesn't. Granted, it goes right in front of my house, but I knew that when I moved in. And so I think, I'm not trying to be a martyr, but the people in College Lane, I think that will be the main thoroughfare. I'm trying to let them know that, but it only makes sense.
I doubt it
I
very seriously.
doubt that. So if a planner wanted to make that as a main entrance to their inn, just by saying that out loud, it doesn't seem feasible when you are not going through the proper traffic, like, say, for example, the thoroughfare of 82 or 44, you want to have it there. Like, the Cottonwood is not going to have their entrance from Dollar Road. They're going to have it off of the main highway.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Right.
I'm saying,
College Lane.
I think a lot of the College Lane neighbors and their small children, their school buses, I don't think there's gonna be as much traffic. I think it'll be more in front of my house.
Which is
And
on,
it
which
should
is on
be.
Bramble Hill.
It's
Oh,
closer,
it
it's
is.
shorter, it's easier. It's a no-brainer.
It's not
So-
any better.
Well, I'm just saying that'll be the main entrance. If it's not,
And
Well, it was never-
that kind of example is exactly what you will have an opportunity to say in front of a planning board
Yes.
who is making a decision on a
If it happens.
proposed document. And that's the type of thing that the planning board members and the representative of the owner, and maybe the owner himself, is sitting there hearing at that type of meeting and saying, I never thought of that, or I'm sure he's thought of it, but you'll be able to counter whatever he's thinking of doing and come to compromises. But right now, this document that we're doing today has nothing to do with that other than setting up borders where those potential businesses could take place.
But to your point, that was never used as their main thoroughfare. That was a service entrance, I guess, at one time.
What?
What, the College Lane? area.
College Lane.
College Lane.
College
That's
Lane.
what we're afraid of,
So-
garbage trucks.
And this is just me talking, but I can't imagine knowing, because when even when Ramble Hill was there,
That was an in, right?
College
Millbrook
Lane
Manor.
was not nearly as,
Yes.
built up as it is now. So that's definitely going to be an issue. And I can definitely sympathize with you in that. And I think if you could get to talk to this gentleman and ally your concerns about traffic. Prior to that, I know the main entrance was off of 44. And I
Why
can't-
is he not here tonight?
He didn't have to.
Well, he-
It has nothing to do with him, really.
Application.
Okay, I got you.
He'd get nowhere fast if he was here. It has nothing to do with his building, you know?
Yeah, he should definitely respond to you though, for sure.
He should.
Yeah,
I understand.
And as the lady here mentioned, yeah, he's probably starting to do some
Oh, for sure.
surveys and so on to see, hoping that the zones get approved, and then his next step, he may, his architects or his engineers may come back and say, you know what? We gotta tweak this, downsize it, or maybe not even do it at all. But that's not this. That's the planning board processes. And the zoning board gets involved because of codes that he'll have to adhere to.
I understand.
And we still have the public hearing on the hospitality
Correct.
overlay. So,
Right.
you know, I urge you all to come and
Yeah.
voice your concern.
6 o'clock. Yeah, right.
So for that particular public hearing, please go online, look at the document, particularly blow up the map, take a very good look at where the borders are going to be on these overlay districts, and that will give you a sense of exactly where these are allowed.
And you could send, you know, emails to the town.
We've done that.
Okay, yep. Yeah, we've seen them.
It's just a little, when we ask questions about it, nobody knows anything about it, but yet everybody thinks it's a done deal. And we're like,
And about what? About what's happening at daytime?
Yeah.
Yeah. As a neighbor, I have no idea what's happening there.
well, we
So-
talked to Sean Pratt, we talked to other people. They all seem to know what's going on, except for the people on the road.
I think the only person that really knows what's going on is the gentleman that's looking to do something there. The same way the couple that owns the motel down in Washington Harbour, or anyone that wants to possibly do some business up on Mappetsville, they're the only ones that really know what they want to do.
Okay, it's just, you know, Mike, it's just a little disconcerting when.
It's frustrating, I know,
Yeah, sure.
but I would make phone calls and try and set something up. Ask the guy if he could invite all the neighbors up and do a walk around.
Well, we
Get a
get
vision.
stonewalled, you know, you go up there, you see the guy, he's not there, different things. And-
Well, I know he's a major businessman.
Was it,
Probably has
was
other
anybody
responsibilities.
there?
No, he's told us he would be there, you go up there, he's not there.
Nobody's there.
Twice,
Nobody there,
nobody.
he has a car with a phone in it and a camera in the car, but he's not there.
So they invited you up and you
Yes.
showed up and there was nobody there?
Yeah, twice,
no.
2 weeks, 2 different
Twice.
days.
He gave us two
I've
different days. he would
heard
be
of
there,
people though
not
having
there.
tours from him of the days that he
Yeah,
put it in his
I know,
letter.
but it wasn't on the days he was there. I was just going through
Yeah.
and he was
Yeah.
there.
I know 2 people
So-
who live near there who got the letter and went and met with him, so maybe he was there, but not, you could find him, or
No,
maybe
you can
just,
find him when he's there. 'cause the car's parked
or
right
just
in front.
email,
One
is
day
there an
there was
email
no
or a
car
phone
at
number?
all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Second day.
I think the thing that upsets us the
Yeah.
most is that when they want to do all this stuff in Evansville, nobody wanted it. But yet they want to put it in, next to our house.
Kevin, nothing has been proposed.
No, that's what I keep hearing.
So that's why
I-
this
I-
is so different
Yeah.
from Mavisville. Wait till it gets proposed.
Okay.
Who's to say we won't be
No, no, I'm just
bombarded
telling you
again?
Myself,
Right.
and my neighbors are concerned
Okay.
about it.
I do
Understand.
think I'd read the
Understand.
report though, Kevin, too, because
Yeah.
the town did go through
Uh-huh.
a really thoughtful process for the past 2 years,
Mhm.
asking residents for their feedback and
Yeah.
about
Well-
this issue and where they wanted it. And so it's not arbitrary.
I think
you
when
know.
it wanted to go into Mavisville, you were one of the biggest proponents against having it there.
Yeah,
And yet we want to put it in next to my house. I'm like,
no, well,
okay,
but
if you
Kevin,
didn't
I
want it,
read the
no, but
report
what,
because it's
you know?
not just one person. It's not
No,
just one
I
person.
understand.
That was a big community effort
Yeah.
and over 2 years before my time, that process was started by
Correct.
the other town board members here and it was a really thoughtful
Mhm.
process. And so I, you know, it's not arbitrary how this town board came up with the, you know, looking
Right.
at certain areas in response to what the people collectively said where they wanted it. So,
Adjacent to the village.
yeah,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Out of all of you, did any of you participate in the comprehensive plan review? Did you attend any of the meetings?
We haven't
Did you
heard
do
about
the-
this since we got
did you-
the letter in our
No,
mail.
no, Kevin,
No, no,
she's
the
asking.
comprehensive, the
Remember
hospitality.
the townwide survey that went out and the
You- and you
meetings
did
and
the
the
survey?
and the postcards of saying, fill out a
Yes,
survey. and stuff. Did you participate?
Yes, we did.
all of you did.
Yes.
Okay.
And you saw that what the report said, what everyone that participated responded.
Yes, we did.
So you understand that we went through a process as best we could.
Now, what is your
I'm-
position here?
I am the chair of the CAC and I was also on the
I
comprehensive.
don't know, I'm just asking.
That's okay. I was also on the comprehensive plan
Right.
review committee. So I was one of those people who sat and listened to everything
Right.
that everyone said. And we did our best to make everyone happy, but you can't.
Well,
But the majority of the people said those were the areas that they envisioned hospitality to sit because it worked out best.
right, I mean, we've had the Cottonwood, which has been there for years.
Yeah.
Just sitting there dormant.
And that's one of the other areas that
and
everyone
Nothing's ever
suggested.
been done.
Well, that's
That's
also,
ridiculous.
that's also one of the parts of
Yes.
the area,
Yeah.
so.
So
And that's a
what-
residential area, by the way.
And it's residential. The
Gotcha.
whole place is residential. So
Well,
it's kind of
it's
hard.
always been there. Bob, you know,
Well,
Since we
the
were
Millbrook
kids.
Manors was there for, I don't know how many years.
no.
And that wasn't
Oh,
in,
I remember.
in a restaurant.
Yeah, it was very nice.
But the Cottonwood
My
was,
father had my father.
Yes, it
All
was.
right, so there you
So
go.
these are
Okay.
these are
So-
the areas that were suggested. It just happens to be Daytop is one of those areas that existed and was
Mhm.
suggested by the residents who did the survey.
All right, we're gonna have to button
Yeah.
this up.
Yeah.
But everybody come back on the 14th?
Yeah.
And
yes.
Um,
A question before you
Yeah.
finish up, second. To the best of my knowledge, correctly, Mike knows all about, it. You guys know. I didn't see anything in my quick read here about specifics. A lot of the other overlays have specifics in them. You know, like no lighting after 11 o'clock and other shielding of the residents
That's
from
planning,
noise
right?
and only allowing certain types of businesses in the overlay.
That's planning.
No, it was in the overlay language. That's
well,
what I'm
the
saying.
overlay is attached to that, so that is part, when it gets submitted to county. This is just like Jeff, correct me if I'm
There are
wrong.
Design standards in there, there's a section on site layout.
Yeah, this is just the
There's a section
summary
on lighting, there's a section on stormwater. I think we should.
That's attached, Howard, so that's part of it, that also goes to county, it's not just this grid sheet that provides an overview. It's everything that's attached, which does include those
I'm
design.
reading this, but there's no specifics, so like you can't have certain types of businesses in this overlay and stuff like that, which I've seen in other places that,
the only,
like you
the
can't have a
only,
gas station, for
Okay.
example.
Howard, the only business that can be in this overlay is hospitality. It's hospitality.
Is hospitality defined?
Yes,
Yes, oh my goodness,
Yes, it
yes,
is.
That's what,
that's it.
yes,
That's the only
yes,
one.
it is just a hospitality overlay and nothing else, no
Nothing
other
else.
commercial activity, with the exception of the accessory
I'll read it
uses that are
again.
listed.
the other question I had, you guys are wrapping up, this is a brief question. For example, on lighting, you say 4,000 Kelvin, and it's always been 3,000 Kelvin in most places, and there's been timers imposed on lighting and things like that. That's not substantive, but that's something that if it comes up at the next meeting, it would be considered.
Sure, I
So
mean,
why not?
we could certainly
in there.
consider that,
But
Nana's raising her hand, Margaret, are you able to, because I'm sure Nana's, the person here who's a professional.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi,
Yeah,
Nan.
so no, I just wanted to interject that there are design standards in this overlay and the lighting.
Margaret, I'm sorry, Nan, we're having a hard time hearing you, just 1 second, sorry. I think we've got to turn our volume up.
Okay,
Okay,
can you hear?
Yeah,
All right, no, is this better?
Yes,
Okay, no, I just wanted to reiterate that there are design standards specific to what's allowed in the hospitality overlay. It does include lighting. It does include specific specifications for use of dark sky compliant lights and all of that. So those things are in there. And the overlay, I just want to make sure everyone understands that the overlay sits on top of the base overlay. So all the regular rules that apply to parking and everything else still apply. And that this only applies to inns. That's the only hospitality use allowed, other than the accessory uses that go along with it. So this is very narrowly focused.
Can't put a spa in there for.
No, no.
Some places says ends only go in there, and that's what I missed probably.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Nat.
Okay,
Now,
so-
getting back to the
Okay,
lighting
so-
question, we've used 3,000 Kelvin, this is a minor detail. It's a more soothing light, doesn't bother the neighbors, it's 4,000 a little bit brighter. So if somebody came in like me and said, I think that 4,000 should be 3,000, and I say that, is that not enough to cause you to have to redo the thing again? It would.
I don't believe so. I think it has to be substantive.
That's a comment you can consider. If you
Right.
might decide to make a change like that, you might decide not to.
Right.
The person can make the change or bring it, or make the suggestion to you, but it's up to you whether you want to or not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can still have little minor tweaks in there, and you could do that. You wouldn't have to go through the whole process again.
Right, as long as it's not a substantive
Right.
change.
I think
It's like
substantive
it-
would be really changing the
Right.
spirit of it. Where I think that the spirit of it is we want to have some control or some restriction rather on lighting there. And so if we tweak the wattage, I don't think that's would be considered
No,
substantive.
I read the
We'd
lighting,
rely
but
on
lighting
that
was pretty good to
and-
me.
Yeah.
But the number, we've always used 3,000, the one that came before the planning board. That's 4. 4 is a little more commercial looking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen.
Okay,
It'll be a part of.
so we're gonna wrap this up. Yeah. Okay, thank you all very much.
See you in September.
Stay tuned.
That's a song.
Yeah, stay tuned for the,
Yeah.
for the public hearing.
I'm old enough that I
Me
know.
too.
James, did you have anything you wanted to talk to us
Yeah,
about?
trees,
No?
Maybe he
Oh, the
could stick
town hall
around for
bridge.
one more minute.
Okay.
trees. and-
I do have a question. This is Mary.
Yes.
Do we have to do seeker for this separate than the resolution to introduce as a local law?
The resolution of introduction references the FBAF and approves it and authorizes the circulation of it. So that's covered.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I was correct.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, folks. Thanks for coming.
Okay, just real